The first cool new feature I noticed when getting back into this app is the camera. Before you would just press a button to bring up the camera viewfinder. Now you actually have a real looking camera to look through. Makes it a whole lot more fun of an experience to take pictures and a lot easier to use. You also have a new way to zoom in and out by using your left controller. You just take your left controller and rotate it as if you were rotating a real camera lens, and it allows you to zoom in and out. You can also use the joystick still to go up and down to zoom in and out, but having that hand there to rotate just like a real camera lens makes it a lot more intuitive. I also noticed that aside from the regular pictures that you can also take panoramic photos just by pressing an extra button. Makes for some really cool shots. As usual though, it's just the normal picture taking process. So now in the main menu, instead of just seeing Antarctica, you also get to press over and see Machu Picchu. So right when you enter the game, you can see an amazing view. One of the things that I was confused about was all the fog. It made it so you really couldn't see anything, but that ends up clearing up. First thing you notice is a marker blocking your path, which shows you the boundaries of the map. Another really cool thing though is that you can see bugs. This is one of the first times I've seen a VR game with bugs flying around, though they randomly disappear. Here you can see that they slowly reveal Machu Picchu to you over time so that you can see the full thing. And I have to say, it's pretty neat. This is someplace I'll probably never see in real life, and so it's great to be able to experience it in virtual reality. You can see just how photorealistic it is. It looks like they've taken actual photo scans of the area and overlaid it on the game. So everything just looks realistic and as if you were really there. You can see here on the map that there's 3 areas to visit. That's one unfortunate thing, is you can't just go around and free roam the entire area, which I really wish you could do. What's really neat is they show you some actual photographs of the person who discovered it and get to see really what it looked like back in the day, which is pretty neat. There's now a new way to view your photos, which is a lot more intuitive. And hey look, you can even put some hats on. So they got a brimmed hat and then a full brim hat, which I preferred, so I kept with it. As you can see, the instructions for taking pictures is a lot easier too now. They give you a little image that indicates where they want the picture taken, and you can match it up relatively easy with where you're going to be taking the photo. And taking photos is pretty much the same as normal. The nice thing is being able to grab that physical camera and take a picture with it. I did notice, however, that if you go reach for the camera without looking at it, sometimes the controllers don't notice it and you end up not grabbing the camera. So you have to make sure to look down a lot of the times. This part was really confusing. It asked you to map the trail by using a pointer, and I couldn't find it anywhere. It tells you what to do, and if I'd paid more attention to the picture, I guess I could have figured it out, but where I was looking, I couldn't find anything. Once I looked around, I eventually found it, but I really wish they would have had some kind of an arrow indicating where I needed to look. Because as you can see here, I can't find it at all. However, if I turn my head to the left, I eventually can see where it's trying to indicate. So once you get that understood, it makes it a lot easier, but it was really hard at the get-go to figure out where in the world it was trying to get me to use the pointer at. So just be aware that if you can't see the pointer, look in all directions, you'll eventually see it. One of the coolest features of this game that you couldn't do even if you were at Machu Picchu in real life is the ability to be able to recreate what it looked like back in the day. So as in this example, you're able to recreate the stone mounds that they had, and you get to see that throughout the entire game. There are many different spots where you get to recreate what it was like back when they lived here in this town. And that's probably the neatest thing, to be able to just see what it would have looked like back then. And it gives you pretty much throughout the game photo assignments. So at each point you're asked to take certain photos to match some of the old photos or just what people preferred. Once you're done in one area, it allows you to move around until you're ready to go to another area. But like I said, it's pretty limited. So once you click on another area, it loads it up and you can begin a photo assignment in that new area. The photo assignments are all right. They can seem pretty repetitive and boring at times. The one thing that really kept me engaged was the recreations, to be able to see the old ruins and then have it come to life with what it must have looked like back when everything was set up. So that was the neatest thing, was to be able to see that. Unfortunately, I didn't feel like I got to spend a lot of time enjoying the scenery because there was always some sort of task to do. Take a picture, pick things up and move it around, create a recreation of what it looked like back in the day. So I felt like I was spending more time working for National Geographic than enjoying myself, which is the point of the game, is to be a National Geographic photographer, but it gets kind of repetitive and old. As you can see here, depending on where you're bending down, the camera can get in the way of things that you pick up. So you have to be cognizant of that and basically work around it with your left hand. This is another example of where you could take a picture of something and have it relate to a historical event. And if you want to be a National Geographic photographer, this is a really cool way to live that experience, to be able to get an idea of what are we looking for, what could make this culturally impactful, and take those pictures. And for those who are budding photographers, it even gives some tips on how to take some great shots that end up looking really neat. So for the photographer enthusiast and those who love National Geographic, this is going to be great. Some of the bigger glitches was placing items. I found that it wouldn't let me place it and it would just transport it back to the way it was, and then I'd have to go and do it a second time, and in the second time it would actually work and I could place things. So just know there's a little bit of a placement bug there. I don't know if they're going to fix that, but hopefully they will. The rest of the game is just hopping from spot to spot, taking different photographs and assignments. The scenery is really neat. They even put some birds in there and some lizards, and as we saw earlier, some bugs. But as you saw even from there, you get blocked off at every corner. There's very small areas that you can explore and investigate, and that's about it. You spend most of the game just fulfilling assignments. The neatest thing though is to be able to, after you're done with those assignments, look around a little bit. One thing that was a huge plus for this was the education. There were things that I didn't know about Machu Picchu or the people who lived there, and this game really does a good job of not only explaining to you what it was like for them back in the day, but also showing you through the recreations. I have to say, in my opinion, they could have got some better voice talents for it. Their voices sound fine, but the acting was a little weak in my opinion. And because there's so much dialogue, I mean, pretty much the entire game there's somebody talking, it can get a little bothersome. In the Antarctic one, there wasn't as much dialogue. You had a little bit of talking and then got to explore a lot, and then there may have been one or two more sentences and then more exploring. But as you can see from the subtitles on this, there's always somebody talking the entire time, which I think works great for kids. This is definitely going to appeal a lot more to children, but I don't know if that's what the game was intended for. This game seems to be for people who are explorers, who want, like National Geographic, and I would assume they'd be trying to appeal to an older audience like myself, but this new addition to the game really makes it feel like they're trying to appeal to children more than adults in this game. So one of the neat things is to be able to see Machu Picchu at night. Apparently you're not allowed to visit in real life after nightfall, so this gives you a glimpse into what Machu Picchu looks like at night without any restrictions. They also have you outline the constellations in the sky. This is where I found another bug. If you try to trace it too fast, it gets stuck and there's nothing you can do. You try pointing to it and nothing happens. After trying to fix it, I found that if I took the camera out and pretended to take a picture of it, it would reset the mapping, and then I was able to trace it. So just remember, if you're tracing something, trace slowly so the arrow can catch up with your movements, or else you're going to get stuck and have to take a picture to unstick yourself. And then the most amazing thing about the entire game, which they saved for last, and I'm glad they did, is to be able to bring Machu Picchu to life in its entirety and at night. So you trace the entire area, and once you're done doing that, it takes you back in time to what Machu Picchu must have looked like back when people were living in it. And I have to say, I wasn't prepared for how amazing it would look. It makes it look so much more interesting. I didn't even think about what those little green steps were for, and to see that it was probably used for corn plantation was awesome. But to see the fires and the huts and everything, just seeing it come to life was amazing. So if anything, go through the game just to see this part of it. It really doesn't do it justice just to see a video of it. You have to immerse yourself in Machu Picchu at nighttime with the civilization there. And that to me was the neatest thing. And so you get to go back in time, and then you get to take some shots and pictures so that you can put it on the cover of National Geographic magazine. Just a really neat experience. At the end of it, you come back to your apartment just like you did in Antarctica and pretty much follow the same process. It shows you a magazine basically featuring the story that you just took pictures of, and you get to go look at the picture frames and fill them with all of your favorite photos. That's all pretty much the same. There's no updates there, and it works really well. So I'm glad that they still have that feature. And then of course you got your nice big magazine photo cover there on the wall. Overall, a great new addition. So go ahead and take a look at it, play with the game, and tell me what you think about it. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.